There are moments in life when the weight of challenges feels unbearable. A storm comes uninvited, shaking the very roots of our existence. In such times, we stand at a crossroads between surrender and strength. And in those moments, the true greatness of a woman is revealed. A great woman is not one who never faces pain, but one who does not let pain define her. She doesn't escape her storms. She learns to dance in the rain. She doesn't wait for the world to hand her strength. She cultivates it in silence, in prayer, in effort, and in resilience. Strength is not about being unbreakable. It is about being broken, yet choosing to rise again. It is about holding on to faith when doubts whisper louder than hope. It is about being tired, but not quitting. There was once a woman who had every reason to give up. Loss, rejection, betrayal, and endless struggles. Yet she chose not to be a victim of her circumstances. She became a student of her struggles. Every setback was a lesson. Every tear watered the seed of her future. Every no she heard became the fuel to find her. Yes, a great woman knows that surrendering to fear will only make her small, but choosing strength will help her grow beyond her limitations. She knows that her worth is not measured by applause or approval, but by the courage to keep moving forward when no one is watching. Strength is not just for herself. It becomes her gift to the world. She becomes a pillar for her family, a guide for her friends, an inspiration for strangers. By choosing strength over surrender, she transforms not only her life, but also the lives of everyone around her. So when you face your darkest nights, remember the stars shine brightest in the deepest darkness. When you think you are about to break, realize you are about to break through. The choice between surrender and strength is the choice between fading away or rising into greatness. When we think of greatness, our minds often drift toward the image of success, applause, achievements, recognition, and admiration. But the truth is, greatness is rarely born in those comfortable moments. Comfort, while soothing, does little to shape character. It is in the furnace of struggle that a true greatness is revealed. Just as gold is purified through fire, human potential shines brightest when tested by the flames of life's challenges. Think about it. When everything in life is smooth, when doors open easily, when applause is loud, there is no resistance. And when there is no resistance, there is no reason to grow. Imagine an athlete who never trained with heavy weights or never faced tough competitors. Their muscles would remain weak, their endurance limited, their spirit untested. In the same way, a woman who has only lived in comfort may enjoy peace, but she may not discover the depth of her inner strength. It is only when the winds of struggle blow that the roots of her courage grow deeper. The stories we admire most, the ones that inspire us, are rarely tales of people who had it easy. They are about those who refused to surrender despite pain, rejection, or loss. The woman who faces betrayal but chooses forgiveness instead of bitterness. The mother who carries her family through hardship despite her own exhaustion. the dreamer who continues to build her vision even after repeated failures. These are the women we call great, not because their journey was smooth, but because their spirit was unshaken by storms. Struggles act like mirrors. They show us who we really are. When life is gentle, anyone can appear composed, confident, and gracious. But when the ground beneath us shakes, when nothing goes according to plan, when friends walk away and strength feels like it's fading, that is when the true self is revealed. In those moments, greatness is not about pretending to be unbothered, but about refusing to give up. It is about carrying hope even when everything around seems hopeless. One of the greatest gifts of struggle is that it strips away illusions. Comfort can create a false sense of security, but hardship reminds us of what truly matters. In times of difficulty, priorities shift. What once seemed important, a title, an opinion, or an approval, suddenly fades in comparison to values like resilience, faith, and perseverance. Struggle becomes a teacher, showing us lessons that comfort could never reveal. It teaches patience when results are delayed. It teaches humility when pride is wounded. It teaches gratitude when blessings are scarce. And above all, it teaches strength, the kind of strength that cannot be borrowed from anyone else, but must be built from within. A woman who has gone through struggles carries a different presence. Her eyes reflect both the pain she endured and the courage she discovered. Her words carry weight because they come not from theory, but from experience. Her smile is not shallow, it is profound because it was earned after nights of tears and mornings of uncertainty. She walks not arrogantly, but gracefully because she knows what it means to stumble and rise again. Greatness, then, is not the absence of scars, but the story behind them. It is not found in how easy the path was, but in how courageously it was walked despite its difficulties. Comfort may give temporary happiness, but it is struggle that gives lasting greatness. Life presents us with countless moments where defeat seems inevitable. Sometimes it comes through shattered dreams, other times through relationships that break, or through the heavy burden of responsibilities that feel too much to bear. In those moments, the easiest path seems to be surrender, to give up, to say, I cannot go on. Yet, a great woman is not one who avoids defeat, but one who refuses to let defeat define her. She chooses resilience, not because it is easy, but because she knows it is the only way to truly live. Resilience is not about denying pain. It is not about pretending that the struggle doesn't hurt or that failure doesn't sting. Rather, resilience is the quiet but powerful decision to rise again after every fall. A great woman allows herself to feel the weight of disappointment, to grieve when necessary, but she does not stay down. She knows that defeat is not permanent unless she chooses to remain defeated. Each setback becomes an opportunity to rebuild herself stronger than before. Imagine a woman who starts a business with all her heart, but after months of effort, it collapses. She could say, "This is the end, I was not meant for this," and surrender. Or she could choose resilience. Look at the lessons, correct her course, and try again. The first path leads to a life of regret, while the second leads to growth and new possibilities. This is the difference between defeat and resilience. One closes doors, the other opens them. Resilience is often silent. It does not announce itself with grand gestures or loud declarations. It happens in the small, unseen moments when she wakes up after crying all night and still goes to work. When she holds her family together, even while she feels broken inside. When she studies for another exam after failing the first one. When she prays for strength, even when hope feels thin. These simple, consistent choices are acts of resilience, and they build an unshakable character. Defeat has a way of making us believe that we are not enough, that we lack the strength, that our dreams were foolish to begin with. But resilience speaks a different language. It whispers, "You are stronger than this. This is not your ending. It is your beginning." A great woman listens to this voice, not because she doesn't feel fear or doubt, but because she refuses to allow fear and doubt to be the final word. The beauty of resilience is that it transforms pain into purpose. What once felt like unbearable suffering becomes the story that inspires others. A woman who overcomes illness becomes a symbol of courage for others in pain. A mother who rises after loss becomes a source of comfort for those who grieve. A leader who rebuilds after failure shows others that failure is not fatal. By choosing resilience, a woman not only saves her own spirit, but also becomes a light for those still walking through their darkness. And perhaps the most powerful part of resilience is that it grows stronger with each trial. Every time a woman refuses to surrender, she builds a deeper well of inner strength. Defeat may knock on her door again, but it finds her wiser, braver, and more prepared. She becomes unshakable, not because life has spared her battles, but because she has faced them and chosen to rise again and again. Many people misunderstand strength. They think being strong means never breaking, never crying, never stumbling. But the truth is, real strength has nothing to do with being unbreakable. It is not about building walls so high that nothing can touch you, nor about pretending that pain does not exist. True strength is about allowing yourself to break when life hits hard, and then finding the courage to gather those broken pieces, rise again, and keep walking forward with a deeper spirit than before. A great woman does not hide from her struggles. She faces them openly, and sometimes they bring her to her knees. She cries, she questions, she feels the weight of despair. But here is where her greatness shines. She does not stay on the ground. She uses her brokenness as a foundation for growth. The cracks in her heart do not weaken her. They allow light to enter. They allow empathy, wisdom, and courage to be born. Think of glass that falls and shatters into pieces. Many would call it useless. But in the hands of an artist, those broken shards can be turned into a mosaic more beautiful than the original. In the same way, when a woman experiences heartbreak, failure, or loss, Her soul may feel shattered. Yet if she chooses, she can rebuild herself into something even stronger, more compassionate, and more radiant than before. That is real strength. Not in avoiding the break, but in creating beauty from it. When society looks at strength, it often glorifies perfection, the woman who never falters, who holds everything together flawlessly, who never lets anyone see her tears. But perfection is a mask. Behind every mask of perfection lies a human heart that has faced storms. Strength is not about keeping the mask on. It is about being authentic, being vulnerable, and still moving forward despite the cracks. A woman who has been broken and yet continues to rise carries a strength that no untested person could ever possess. Brokenness also teaches humility. When someone has never fallen, they may believe they are invincible. But when a woman has known the bitterness of defeat and the heaviness of pain, she gains a humility that makes her compassionate toward others. Her strength becomes more than personal. It becomes a refuge for those who are broken too. She can look someone in the eye and say, "I know what it feels like, but you can rise again." And her words carry weight because they come from lived experience. Rising after being broken is not a one-time act. Sometimes life breaks us again and again. The loss of a loved one, betrayal of trust, failures in career, disappointments in relationships, all these can break the heart repeatedly. But each time a woman rises, her spirit grows deeper roots. Just like a tree battered by storms grows stronger roots underground, so does a woman grow stronger in her soul. Her strength becomes a quiet confidence that says, "No matter how many times I fall, I will rise again." It is in this rising, not in the avoidance of breaking, that true strength is discovered. The scars she carries are not marks of weakness, but of survival. They are reminders that she has been tested and has come through, not untouched but transformed. She does not pretend to be unbreakable. She embraces the fact that she has been broken and still chose to rise. That is what makes her truly strong. Life is filled with moments when we feel as though the ground beneath our feet has given way. A plan we worked tirelessly for collapses. A relationship we trusted falls apart. Or a dream we nurtured for years shatters unexpectedly. In such moments, setbacks feel like walls. Hard, cold, and immovable. Yet, a great truth about life is that those very walls can become steps if only we choose to climb them. Every setback carries within it the possibility of being transformed into a stepping stone for growth. Setbacks are not punishments, they are invitations. They invite us to pause, to reflect, to reconsider, and to grow in ways we would never have imagined if life had gone exactly as planned. A woman who faces a setback in her career, for instance, may feel devastated in the moment, questioning her worth or her direction. But perhaps that closed door pushes her to explore a new path, discover a hidden talent, or start something of her own. What looked like an end was actually a beginning. What seemed like a rejection was a redirection towards something greater. Consider the seed buried in soil. From the outside, it looks as if it has been buried in darkness, confined with no way out. But in reality, that very burial is the starting point of growth. The pressure, the darkness, the struggle, it all allows the seed to sprout and push toward the light. In the same way, setbacks may feel like burying, but in truth, they are planting. They plant us in situations that force us to dig deep, discover strength we never knew we had, and rise stronger than before. When setbacks come, the first reaction is often disappointment, sometimes even despair. But a great woman chooses to shift her perspective. Instead of asking, "Why me?" she asks, "What is this trying to teach me?" That simple shift transforms the setback into a lesson. It becomes a stepping stone, something to step on, not something to stumble over. The setback itself may not disappear, but it changes its role in her story. It becomes a teacher, in their guide, and a foundation for the next chapter of her life. History and personal stories alike are full of examples. Authors whose books were rejected dozens of times before finally succeeding. Leaders who failed in their first attempts yet became stronger because of those failures. Mothers who faced unimaginable hardships but used those challenges to nurture deeper compassion and courage in themselves. Their setbacks did not define them. Their response did. They chose to transform obstacles into opportunities. Every setback also humbles us. It reminds us that life is unpredictable, that we are not in control of every outcome. Yet in that humility, growth happens. We learn to rely on faith, on persistence, and on the quiet resilience within us. We begin to value patience, to understand timing, and to recognize that delay does not mean denial. Often, what we thought was a setback was simply life preparing us for something bigger than what we had planned. A great woman understands that her path to success and fulfillment will never be a straight line. It will have bends, stops, and even detours. But she also knows that each bend, each stop, and each detour has a purpose. Setbacks are not signs to stop walking, they are signs to walk wiser. And as she keeps moving forward, she turns every stumbling block into a stepping stone, every failure into a foundation, and every disappointment into determination. Tears and pain are often seen as signs of weakness. Society sometimes tells us to hide them, to push them away, or to cover them up with a smile. Yet, when we look closer, we realize that tears are not signs of defeat, but of humanity. And pain is not the end of the story, but the soil in which greatness can grow. Just as rain nourishes the earth and allows seeds to sprout, tears and pain nurture the seeds of future success in ways that comfort never could. Pain has a way of breaking us open. It strips away the surface layers of pride, illusion, or false security and forces us to look inward. When everything is easy, we move through life on autopilot. But when pain comes, it wakes us up. It pushes us to ask questions we would otherwise avoid. Who am I? What really matters? What is my purpose? These questions, born out of discomfort, often lead us to discover the deeper truths of our lives. Without pain, we might never seek those answers. Tears, too, are not wasted. Each one carries emotion, memory, and release. When a woman cries after a betrayal, after a loss, or after a failure, those tears are not signs that she is broken beyond repair. They are signs that her heart is alive, that she cares deeply, that she is willing to feel rather than numb herself to life. And in that very feeling lies growth. For only those who allow themselves to feel pain deeply can also feel joy deeply when success finally comes. Think of a farmer sowing seeds into dry ground. If there is no rain, no water, no nourishment, the seeds remain dormant, lifeless, unable to sprout. But when the rains come, even if the storms are heavy and wild, those same seeds begin to grow. In the same way, our tears are like rain to the seeds of our potential. Pain waters them with experience, forcing us to dig deeper, to stretch wider, to grow stronger. What felt like devastation becomes the very nourishment that leads to a richer harvest later on. Many of the world's most inspiring people carry stories of pain. Some grew up in poverty, others faced rejection again and again, others endured personal loss, and yet those very struggles became the foundation of their greatness. The pain taught them perseverance. The tears gave them compassion. The hardships carved resilience into their character. Without those struggles, their success would have been shallow. With them, their success became meaningful. A great woman understands this truth. When she feels pain, she does not dismiss it or bury it. She lets it teach her. When she cries, she does not shame herself for being too emotional. She understands that those tears are cleansing, releasing, and preparing her spirit for the next stage of her journey. Each tear shed in the dark becomes part of the light that guides her in the future. Each painful moment endured strengthens her for the victories yet to come. In time, when she looks back, she sees that her greatest growth came not from the seasons of ease, but from the seasons of difficulty. In the nights she thought she would never survive became the foundation of the mornings. She thrived. The pain she once wished would disappear became the very reason she found her strength. And the tears she thought were wasted became the water that nurtured her dreams into reality. Every day, life presents us with choices. Some are small and simple, like what to eat or what to wear, but others are far more defining. These are the choices that shape who we become, the choice to stand tall or to collapse, to move forward or to give up, to live by faith or to live in fear. Strength, contrary to what many people believe, is not something a few are born with while others are not. Strength is a conscious choice. Surrender, on the other hand, is not a destiny. It is a habit that grows when fear is allowed to take the lead. When adversity comes knocking, fear is often the first voice we hear. It whispers, "You're not strong enough. This is too much for you. You should quit before you embarrass yourself. You'll never make it." Fear tries to convince us that surrender is safer than fighting on. And the more we listen to this voice, the more it becomes a habit. like a path walked on repeatedly. Surrender becomes easier and easier until it feels natural. But what feels natural is not always what is right. Fear-driven surrender shrinks our life, limits our potential, and keeps us from discovering what we are truly capable of. Strength, on the other hand, is not about never hearing the voice of fear. It is about choosing not to obey it. It is about listening to a different voice. The voice of courage that says, yes, this is hard. Yes, you are scared, but you can still take one more step. You can still try again. You can still rise. A great woman chooses that voice not because she feels fearless, but because she refuses to let fear rule her story. This choice of strength is made in moments both big and small. It is made when she chooses to get out of bed after a night of despair. It is made when she chooses to apply for one more job after countless rejections. It is made when she chooses to speak up for what is right even when her voice trembles. Strength is not built overnight. It is built choice by choice, decision by decision. Each time she chooses strength, her courage grows stronger, her resolve deepens, and her habit shifts from surrender to resilience. The difference between strength and surrender is also the difference between expansion and contraction. When fear leads to surrender, her life contracts, dreams get smaller, opportunities fade, and confidence shrinks. But when strength is chosen, her life expands, doors open, possibilities grow, and faith multiplies. What looked impossible begins to move within reach, not because the world changed, but because she chose to change her stance. It is important to understand that surrender, in this sense, is not rest, nor is it wisdom. Rest is essential, wisdom is valuable, but surrender rooted in fear is neither. It is escape. It is stepping away from growth, from progress, from purpose. Strength, however, is the decision to step into the unknown, into the challenge, into the fire, in the believing that there is something greater on the other side. A woman who chooses strength understands that courage is not about feeling invincible. It is about moving forward despite feeling vulnerable. She may stumble, she may even fall, but because she has chosen strength over surrender, she rises again. Her story becomes one of resilience, not retreat. She shows the world, and more importantly herself, that strength is not reserved for a few extraordinary people. It is available to anyone willing to choose it again and again until it becomes who they are. From the time we are children, we are taught to seek approval. A smile from a parent, a grade from a teacher, applause from an audience. All of these moments tell us that we are good enough. Slowly, without realizing it, many people begin to measure their value through the eyes of others. But the truth is, self-worth cannot and should not be dependent on external approval. Approval is fleeting, fragile, and ever-changing. True self-worth is built not on applause or validation, but on the quiet courage to believe in yourself, even when no one else does. A woman who bases her worth on approval lives in constant uncertainty. Today, the world may praise her, but tomorrow it may criticize her. One moment she is celebrated, and the next she is questioned or judged. If her self-worth is tied to this unstable tide, then she will forever feel like she is drowning, never knowing if she is truly enough. But when a woman roots her worth in her own courage, she becomes unshakable. She does not need the world to clap for her to keep moving forward. Her approval comes from within, from the knowledge that she is walking her path with authenticity and bravery. Approval from others is external, courage is internal. Approval can be taken away, but courage cannot be stolen. It must be chosen. A woman with inner courage may stand alone, yet she does not feel alone because she knows she is standing on the truth of her convictions. She may face criticism, but she continues because she knows that criticism is temporary while integrity is lasting. She may even face rejection, but she understands that rejection does not diminish her worth. It only redirects her towards something greater. Consider the lives of those who have made lasting impacts in the world. Many of them were initially misunderstood, doubted, or even ridiculed. Their ideas were too bold, their dreams too unusual, their actions too daring. If they had relied on approval to continue, they would have given up at the first sign of resistance. But what carried them through was inner courage, the courage to believe in their vision, to stand firm in their values, and to keep going even when the crowd disagreed. Their worth was never on loan from others, it was rooted in their own hearts. For a great woman, inner courage becomes the compass of her life. She does not dress, speak, or live simply to earn applause. She makes choices based on what aligns with her values and her vision, even when the crowd is silent or worse, disapproving. She continues with dignity. Her worth does not rise when she is praised nor fall when she is ignored. It remains steady because it is anchored in something far deeper than opinion. It is anchored in her courage to be authentically herself. This kind of courage also liberates her. When she no longer depends on approval, she becomes free from the endless cycle of comparison. She no longer asks, "Am I better than her? Am I doing enough to impress them?" Instead, she asks, "Am I being true to myself? Am I acting with courage?" And those questions free her from the prison of people, pleasing and allow her to live with peace, purpose, and confidence. When a woman chooses inner courage over approval, she no longer fears rejection because she knows rejection does not define her. She no longer craves constant validation because she validates herself. She no longer feels the need to fit into every mold because she is creating her own. Her self-worth becomes unshakable, not because the world approves of her, but because she approves of herself. Strength is never lived in isolation. When a woman chooses strength over surrender, her decision does not remain confined to her own life. It radiates outward, touching the lives of her family, her friends, her community, and even strangers who may never know her name. The beauty of strength is that it multiplies. One person's resilience becomes another person's hope. One woman's courage to rise again becomes the spark that ignites strength in others who thought they had none left. A woman who stands tall in the face of storms becomes a living example that it is possible to overcome. Imagine a mother working tirelessly, despite personal struggles, to provide for her children. Her children may not fully understand her sacrifices in the moment, but her perseverance plants seeds in their hearts. They grow up knowing that strength is not just a word, but a way of life. They carry her example into their own battles, remembering that if their mother could endure and rise, so can they. Her choice to be strong becomes the inheritance she leaves behind, not just in material wealth, but in character. Strength also has the power to uplift in quiet, unseen ways. Sometimes it is not in grand speeches or visible victories, but in simple acts. The woman who smiles even when she carries pain inside, giving others a glimpse of hope. The friend who listens patiently to another's troubles despite her own heavy heart. The sister who encourages her family not to give up even when she herself feels exhausted. These small, steady choices of strength send ripples far beyond what the woman herself may realize. People are inspired not by perfection, but by authenticity. When a woman openly faces challenges, admits her struggles, yet continues to move forward, others see themselves in her story. They realize that strength does not mean never falling, but rising after the fall. This realization uplifts them because it assures them that they, too, can rise. Her life becomes a mirror that reflects their own potential. Even in communities, the strength of one woman can spark collective courage. History is filled with examples of women whose refusal to surrender created movements of change. But even outside of history books, in everyday life, this is true. A teacher who refuses to give up on struggling students inspires those children to believe in themselves. A daughter who chooses to care for her aging parents with patience and grace inspires her siblings to do the same. A woman who faces illness with dignity uplifts an entire community, teaching them the meaning of resilience. Strength is contagious. It spreads silently, often without words. A neighbor watching a single mother work 2 jobs while raising her children may feel encouraged to face his own challenges with more grit. A colleague seeing a woman rise after repeated professional setbacks may feel renewed determination to keep pursuing his goals. Without even trying, her strength uplifts others simply because it proves that endurance is possible. A woman who chooses strength over surrender becomes more than just a survivor of her own story. She becomes a lighthouse for others sailing through storms. They may not know how to navigate, but by watching her, they learn that storms can be survived. She does not just carry her own burden. She lightens the burdens of those around her by being an example of courage. Her choice to stand, even when it would have been easier to fall, becomes a gift of hope for everyone who witnesses her journey.